I think we are going to start now. Welcome to our election conference. I just want to clarify in the beginning that the event is recorded. And so if any of you has a question, it will be recorded and afterwards in the video. But so in that case, you know it. Welcome to our event. It's a pleasure to see you all here today. I think elections are really important, and it's really important that students have this time to right to vote if they registered. And therefore, it is important that they get a chance to inform themselves. We decided together with the Jugend that housing and mobility would be the topics of today's discussions. Why? I think housing is clear. The university currently does not have enough housing possibilities for all students. Therefore, it's a real crisis for all students, and mobility is always a topic in Luxembourg and concerns students especially a lot as the campus is here in Belval. I'm not going to talk much about it. I'm going to leave the floor next to Mike. I just want to briefly present as the student delegation. We represent all the students here at the university, and it's our duty to inform students about decisions taken at the university and to represent them. But we support, as a third mission as well, student life at the university, which is difficult, but we are slowly trying to succeed. Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's your applause. So thank you very much that the student delegation helped us to make this possible today. That's really important, as you said, Max. So thanks again, and also to the service, to the Student Life Office from the Service Save, that's right. Also for their support, especially Verle Waterplas, who has helped us to book the rooms and to make it possible together with University of Luxembourg. I will just go to my little slides. People in the video don't have to see me. So we are the National Youth Council of Luxembourg, and it's the umbrella organization of youth organizations which gather, for example, youth parties, as you can see some of them today, youth trade unions, or scouts and guides federations, or leisure and social educational associations who are active in the field of youth, may it be as youth-led organizations or to be working in the field with and for young people. And we also promote the interests of young people, of course, and on the other side, we want to promote civic engagement and civic education. That's why we are also here also to inform, to make it possible for young and future voters to inform themselves. And that's why we also put in place our site, which is called Youngfield.lu, which you can see here. It's available in 5 languages, and it's simple. As you can see, when it goes about voting, how do you do that thing? The site is about, how does voting work, and what are the questions a young person could have? Like, how does it work if you go check, who will be voted for? What do we vote for? And how does it work to vote? And when is it? And so on. And then also, what can I vote for? We won't tell you what to vote for, but what would be the options or where you can find the information to find. Yes, I will keep it short. The microphone doesn't like me. So, and that's why you can see, find everything on the site Youngfield.lu, or in the printed versions, which is also available in 5 languages, if you want. And then, so consult our site. It will be available for now for the local elections, and in the future also for the national elections and for the European elections. So pay a visit, and then if you have more questions, say hi. We are also available for questions. And now the microphone is back, apparently. I will also say hi to Alina and to Philip, who will be the moderators for this part. And thank you very much again for those who are here today, and for those who are watching our video, which will be available soon. And of course, many thanks to our friends of the youth parties who are present here. We have 7 youth parties. So also examples of young people who are engaged and motivated to not only to be engaged, but also to make something happen when it comes to change in society on local and national levels. So thank you very much. Alina, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope you can hear me. So I'm Alina, and I'm co-moderating with Philip, who will be making his way down now. And yes, welcome to this roundtable discussion with a list of young politicians from Luxembourg. We have the pleasure of having the next, I believe, hour and a half to go into the 2 topics that we've decided for today, which is mobility and housing. However, if you have any other questions or concerns, you can definitely ask them as well. They don't have to be related to housing and mobility. We are really anticipating active participation, and I'll leave the word to Philip. Yeah.
Thank you, Alina. Yeah, I was just trying to recruit a few more participants, and I think slowly they are dropping in, which is nice. It allows us to make this a bit more lively, maybe. Let's see, although it will for sure already be lively, just among ourselves, I guess. So should we start with a couple of questions for our audience? Usually we are asking who is going to vote on the 11th of June, I think it is. Is everyone going to vote? Probably. Okay. Do you already know who you will be voting for? Who already knows? And then the other question that we like to ask
is anyone still thinking that they can change their mind, or are they pretty sure about their opinion?
Who could still change their mind? One person?
No.
Only one, 2. Okay.
Okay.
Good. So today's round really will serve its purpose, I guess. Are you? And then we have one more question that we'd like to ask about our general feeling about politics in Luxembourg. What is your general feeling? I mean, most of you might already, I mean, you are active in politics, so I don't know how very independent your view will be, but we like to ask you usually also, what's your general feeling about politics? How well do you think it works in Luxembourg? I mean, on the municipal level, maybe compared to other countries as well. So who thinks that it's working really well? Okay. Who thinks it's working rather well? 2, 3, 2.5, 3, 3.5. Okay. Who thinks it's not really working so well? 1 vote. And who thinks it's below the, let's say, admissible threshold? Nobody. Okay, so there were quite a few abstentions, I think.
Yeah.
I think.
Sets the mood for the evening.
Right, right.
Okay, well then I guess we can start by giving our politicians a opportunity to introduce themselves. You have 90 seconds to give us an opinion of basically who you are, but also why you engaged yourself politically here in Luxembourg. So let's start over there.
Just one question. Do we need to use the mics? I think we do. Yeah. Right. Yes.
Oh, there. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, my name is Tania. I'm from the Young Left Party. I'm also in the main party. I got active in 2018 because I had a lot of opinions while I was studying, and I thought that instead of just having them by myself, I would go into politics and join the party that would most reflect my ideas. And because I consider myself, pretty leftist, anti-capitalist. For me, the options were the Left Party and the Communist Party, and that is why I joined the Left Party. And for me, the main issues of today would be the growing inequalities between rich and poor, and the growing growing concerns of climate change.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tania. Yeah, as you probably know, we have two main topics today, which is housing and mobility, but we can also touch upon more topics, I guess, also because we are not so numerous today. So I guess maybe there's the opportunity to touch upon other topics as well, if you feel like. Thank you, Tania. And we give.
My name is
the floor to Lou.
Linster. Even though I'm not anti-capitalist, I think that in terms of climate and housing, we have similar meanings with the Young Left. I'm from the Young Democrats. I'm a local councillor in Leudelange, which is a small village next to Luxembourg City, and I'm running as lead candidate in the local elections of 11th of June. I'm active in politics since 2017, so since the last local elections when I became elected. The most important topics for me, but also for our organization, Young Democrats, currently are housing issue, climate, and also mobility.
Hi, my name is Max. I'm 26 years old. I was in Munich for my university, studied there economics, and came back last September. Yeah, I'm co-president of the Young Socialists, which is the small organization for the youth of the LSAP, which yeah, is the Socialist Party in Luxembourg. I became active in 2018 after the elections. Maybe just to complete, I've never been active before 2018. I was never in the student council or something like that. But when I checked on the debates for the elections, I thought that the ideas were good that the Socialist Party wanted to promote. But yeah, there were not that many people who were of the same opinion, and I thought it would be good to take that engagement on, and I entered the party and got elected co-president of the Young Socialist now in March.
Thank you, Max. And then we go to Alex.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Alex Donnersbach. I am the president of the Christian Social Youth Party. I've been active in politics for 10 years now. So like 10 years ago, I decided that I wanted to get engaged in politics. I was always interested in politics as a pupil in high school, but I didn't join a party. And then when I was at university, I decided that I wanted to get more active. And the Christian Social People's Party was the attractive party for me because it combined, on the one side, the economic and the social footprint, and combined it in a way that I felt very much represented. So I decided to join my party, and then I also got involved at the local level. In 2017, I got elected to the City Council of Valverdange, and I have had a keen interest since then also in housing. How can we create more housing? How can we create better housing? And on the local level, you can really get involved in this subject, and you discover that there's a lot of things that needs to get corrected in the future and need to get better. But we can talk more about this later. But it's a very passionate subject and a very fascinating subject. So thank you.
Thank you. We have Mathis next.
So, hello, my name is Mathis Godefroy. I'm 24 years old. I am a speaker of the Young Pirates, and I study history in Saarbrücken. And previously to my engagement at the Pirate Party, I was president of the National Youth Council, and now I'm also head candidate of the Pirates in Hesperange. So for me, it was always very important to find good solutions to problems that people have, that our electors have. So a lot of politics seem to be a little bit more old or can be a little bit more conservative. And for me, it's very important to not stick to those old-fashioned views of values and to try and find concrete solutions.
Thank you, Mathis. And we go to Mats.
Hello. So yes, I'm Matt. I'm from the Young Greens. I'm 23 years old. I also study here in the university. I study legislative studies at the master level. In the Young Greens, I'm also part of the youth council. I represent the Young Greens in the youth council. And yes, what's motivated me to start doing politics, not necessarily party politics, but just politics in general, was the fact that clearly we have many problems to address. And for me, the Young Greens, also related to climate change, encapsulated all the problems that we face in our society. And in my opinion, the climate crisis is clearly the biggest existential threat that we have faced. And as such, it encapsulates all the social, economic problems that we also face. And so therefore, the biggest focus at the moment is, of course, housing in Luxembourg. But as the Young Greens and the Greens in general, we focus a lot also, of course, on the climate crisis, countering the climate crisis, countering social issues, promoting mobility, and of course, European inclusion. And yes, looking forward to discussion.
Thank you. And lastly,
Yeah, my name is Jean Modert. I'm General Secretary of Young ADRenalin. I have actually three leading ideals, which are for me peace, property, and freedom, which for me are all closely linked to prosperity and its values that need to be redefended again and again, but also be put into a social and legal framework in everyday life. And I basically, my engagement is to participate in that debate. Before joining ADR, I was active some years as a political journalist and also had a career of 16 years membership in another Luxembourgish party. But as it is represented in the round here, I won't mention which one, because that would be unfair to the representative of that party, I think.
Thank you, Jean, also for this very personal story. So maybe before we start with the most burning topics of today, or the ones that we have kind of predefined, we wanted to ask you if you have any general questions, or it could be personal questions. We just heard that other topics that our candidates feel very strongly about are, for example, climate change. We also heard about inequalities, I think. We heard about peace. So before maybe we get into the more technical side of housing and mobility, is there anything you would like to challenge them on? Yes, please. If you can just shortly say your first name as well.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Leonie. I'm a student in geography and spatial planning here.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting. I wanted to ask in general, what I've seen is that these discussion rounds are very male dominated and very, let's say, one certain type of person that is representing the youth. So, and again, here I see one lady. Why, like, how can we change this if it's not even possible at the youth party level? So why don't you do more efforts in terms of the organizers, but also in terms of the youth parties that are participating? I think that's something that is a bit, kind of, for a lot of people, makes it a bit unattractive.
Thank you so much, Leonie, for addressing this issue. Would somebody in the public like to echo what Leonie just said, or maybe raise another general point for today? Now is the moment. Doesn't seem to be immediately the case. I think, Mathis, you already wanted to react on Leonie's point, and I'm sure we will have a variety of potential solutions or opinions on this topic, very hot topic.
Thank you very much for your question. You are right. It is actually also very difficult to find solutions, but you also have to look now. It's around 5 o'clock, and most of us, also students or just having the change in their life from studentship to work. And we also have a co-speaker that's a woman, but she currently works and has 3 children. I have the luxury that I don't have those obligations so that I can be here.
Are you saying that women generally have more obligations than men?
No, I think that those that are represented here might have less, so that's why we are here.
I see. I think Mats also wanted to react.
Yes, yeah, also thank you for your question. Yeah, I think it's a clear problem. It's been noticed before by different people that in different discussions there's more men than women, and it's clear. I think sometimes it's also a bit unlucky, the fact that it's more men, but there is a clear trend, that's for sure. I know that with the Young Greens, we always have a very a big system of parity. So whether it's on the national level, anywhere, we always have man and woman as top candidates, as co-presidents anywhere. So we always try to have the parity also on our list. We always have 50-50. So we do introduce the quota system internally. But it's of course not just about quota, it's also about encouraging women to participate. And I do think that we are promoting it the best that we can.
Can we quickly ask which are the parties that actually follow a quota system? If you can show up. Okay, so we have, so Matt's your party as well. So it would be 4 out of the 7, 4.5 out of the 7 parties present today. Interesting. Maybe we can get back to this point.
And yeah, just one last point. It is true that the culture we lived in was always dominated by men, that's for sure. So it will take a long process before we can also involve women. And now is the time, of course, to do it. A lot of people say, yes, gender equality, there's no problem. It's all fine. They can just go there, but it's not the case. I mean, our system is not built around women, it's built around men. And that's why we need to change it. And as the Young Greens, we're a feminist party and proud to be as well.
Thank you, Mats. Jean, you also wanted to react.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic, seeing in the round, but I actually would say agree with some of the other speakers that it's a lot about time and obligations, and we finally chose a man to come here, but behind me there were not just several women who couldn't make it, but also several men who couldn't make it. So it was in the end a coincidence that among men there was one left who could, and among women, well, there was none, just one man more than women who could make it in the end.
Thank you, Jean. I think Tania and Lou, you don't really seem to have a quota system within your parties. So what's the situation in terms of gender balance? Would you say they are they equally represented? Maybe also, did you hear from both women and men, you know, on what could be potential reasons in case there is an imbalance?
We don't have a parity system in the entire party. Anyone can join, but for our lists, we try to have a 50-50 parity. But I just wanted to say that it goes much further than just having men and women equally represented. It's also about people from different social classes, and it's a very difficult task because of already how politicians are dressed. You're always in a suit when you go to parliament and so on. So for a long time, and also if we look here, everyone here has done university studies. So it's a very difficult task to get all different kinds of people involved in politics, because for so long they have been disenfranchised. And in a lot of countries, we also see no matter who they vote for, the basic line always progresses in the same way. So they are completely disillusioned in politics. And so in some countries like the France Insoumise, for example, they started to really, and also in Belgium, I forgot the name now, PTB, I think, but they actively go to different factories where people work, and they start talking to them there, and to get them directly where they work. And you can go to schools, you can go to different places where you can reach people from different social classes, but it's a very difficult task to do. And in the Left Party, we also try to do this through different actions in the streets and so on. But yeah, for the list, at least we try to have parity, at least between men and women.
Thank you, Tania. I think if we are talking about gender balance, we are also talking about the representation, for example, of the non-binary people. So maybe there's somebody, one of our candidates also has experience with non-binary people participating in politics. Maybe you have heard one or the other testimony. Let's say, Lou, you also wanted to react on this topic.
I wanted to react. I agree with many things which have been said before, but you asked the honest question. I want to give an honest answer. So we don't have a quota system inside the Young Democrats, and also inside DP, we don't have a quota system. Nevertheless, we try also to have some women in leading positions, as in both. Currently, at the Young Democrats, in the president and vice president and the general secretary and the treasurer, and I could continue, are all men. We have at regional level, we have one woman, and in the BEX, the Bureau Executive, we also have some women. But what is a big problem? If you ask, there are women which are which are engaged into politics and who do everything to get elected. But mostly the people, at least at our party, but I think it's not totally wrong for the colleagues here, mostly the people who run to every single general assembly, who go to every single event in their town, who go to every single event in the party are men. And we also had, there was also a woman which was asked before me to become vice president, and she said no, she didn't want to do it, so I became vice president. And so we really want more women to come and to say, yes, I want a responsible position inside our organization. The Young Democrats, as well as my colleagues here, we don't have too many members. We are also always lucky to get new members. And we have also positive examples like Amila Skanderovic, which is a candidate here in Ash for the local elections. She now also candidates not only for local elections, but also for the regional committee of DP here in the south. But that's one exception. And we would need more such women in our organizations. And I think I speak for most of us here.
Just before we continue, I just want to encourage everyone to participate if they wanted to. We're not that many people here, so if you feel like you want to directly respond to any of the comments, please just put your hands up and then we'll come to you. Okay, continue.
Yes, I just wanted to add something. A lot has been said, but I just wanted to tell a short story, which I think is a good illustration of how it's a bit different. As a youth party, for the national elections, we sent a mail to our members asking, are you interested in being a candidate for the national elections? And everybody could just fill out a form and say, yes, I am interested. And so there was a short deadline because we were already a bit in delay. So it was just 2 days to submit. And then we had 20 candidacies and there was no woman. It's not that we have no women in our members, like 40% are women. And then I called someone that I thought she would actually be a good candidate and I want her to be on that list. So I called her and she said, yeah, but I'm new. And yeah, I felt that was not appropriate. But then I had candidacy from people I did not even know. They were never at no event, but they put forward a candidacy. And she is a local candidate and she has been engaged quite a lot recently. And she didn't come forward with this idea on a spontaneous invitation to do so. So I think what this story tells, and I talk about this also, for instance, with other people in my party, you have to have another approach on how to recruit women for politics. You need to be more proactive in approaching women to participate, and then they're also more willing. But men are just more willingly coming forward to do the job. And that I think parties need to take more into account when recruiting. But it's a difficult task because you have to do the extra effort as opposed to to men.
Okay, we've heard quite a number of opinions. Now, Leonie, would you maybe like to react with one more question, one counter question?
Yeah, thanks a lot for the answers. I think it's very interesting to hear the whole spectrum of what you're saying. I think one thing that was mentioned by you is that it's not only about, like I mentioned, okay, a lot of men and one woman, but like you said, it's more about politics is supposed to represent the society that we're living in. And what I'm seeing, you asked about if we think that politics in Luxembourg work well, I would say it depends what you compare it to. If I compare it to like a super,
Like
I don't know,
more authoritarian system, you
authoritarian
mean?
state or whatever, I would say, yeah, definitely everything is great. But if we look at the reality in Luxembourg, it's 50% foreigners, it's men and women living in society, it's people that are not all super well educated or are not all civil servants that speak 7 languages or something. So, but then if I look at what's the discussions that are happening on the political level, it's like sometimes it's a parallel universe. And I mean, I'm very privileged because I'm able, I understand some languages, not all of them, but I'm educated and so on. So I do have access to some of it, but then, you know, it's the issue of gender balance is the most visible one and the most, I would say, the most fashionable to address maybe. So it's something that everyone kind of speaks to nowadays. But yeah, I guess like that should also be something that should be taken into consideration also when looking at what we discuss later on housing, on transport or mobility or whatever. Like it's a very limited view on things, I would say often.
Thank you, Leonie. Would somebody like to join in on this point? So we have been discussing gender balance, and now we are moving more into, let's say, representativeness of the political system as a whole. So more broadly, would you have a question maybe or a comment on this point more broadly? I think the setting of the university is a great setting to actually address this question. And I'm sure there must be some more comments, maybe from the lines that are a bit further away from us. Yes? Alina, we can swap as well, because now you're doing all the sport.
Yeah, thank you for, okay, now. Thank you for your presentation. I'm a little bit distracted because of this echo. So I don't know, do you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you fine, yeah.
So basically your politics here will be based just on transport, mobility and accommodation. I mean, for me, I'm living here, I'm a student, I'm not Luxembourgish. What do you have to offer to the students that they are coming out from Luxembourg, from countries like the rest of the people? Because we can see here that basically all the people here, they're from Europe based on the color, except that sorry, it's not racial anything. So is it that we are not offering anything different to the student that they're coming from other parties, other parts of the world, or we don't have to offer them anything else, or only accommodation and mobility? Can we also talk about student jobs to those people? Okay, student accommodation, that's the only thing that they need now. But also, do they have a right maybe for let's say, equivalent values of their life? Do they have right maybe to be representative of their countries? Okay, now we have Ukrainians here that they live, but what about the people that they're coming from Russia? Also have students. I mean, my colleagues, they're hiding themselves. Why? Because now we have a war in Ukraine, which is started by Russia, but not by Russian people. And do we have something else? Because this room is like about 240 participants, but we can see only 20 of them, maybe at least 25. So do we have to offer something more, or just accommodation and mobility? We know that mobility here is free. Accommodation, it's not possible to fix it because there's no available. We know it. So do we have something more to tell us? Thank you.
Thank you. Can you maybe just tell us your name as well?
Yeah, my name is Eldar. I mean, that's irrelevant still. Why do you?
Can you say it again?
Yeah, it's Eldar.
Eldar?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Eldar, for this question. Maybe you can keep the mic just for a second.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'd like to ask just if we understood everything in the right way. So you are generally talking about opportunities, and mostly for people who are joining from, let's say, outside of the European Union. So we know that, for example, the University of Luxembourg is also offering PhDs positions to people from around the world, right? And so they also get the opportunity to work alongside their studies, to be able to finance their studies. But you are talking more generally about opportunities for people to participate in the public life. Did I understand this correctly? Because you also saying that people should have the opportunity to represent their countries, you said. So in a way to also represent, I guess, their cultures. Is there a need for more open spaces, or what could be some of the ideas that you would be suggesting?
Based on my view that today we are seeing the people only, I mean, from Europe, you know. So why my question is, why don't we see, you know, different students here? I mean, students from different races, different ethics, you know, different countries.
But
Why
do you
we
see them at university?
We see them, of course, university, but why don't we see them here, you know? So my point
that would
is,
be also, I think that's everyone's question today, yeah.
because we are not offering many opportunities for them, you know. If I for example, why did I come here? Because you invited me. I didn't know about this. I mean,
right.
Why? Because we are not interested in, I mean, the politics. It's alive, of course. But just talking, you know, about, let's say, accommodation and mobility and gender-based equality, and now we have the things like green and so on and so on. That's the story it's repeating. So that's nothing new. I mean, you have to change your politics a little bit to have to give a new opportunities, to change a new ways of looking, you know. That's my point, why I was not interested to come before, or maybe I did. I saw it this morning that there was an event at the zero floor, yeah. But I was not interested at all. I know that it will be the same thing again. Okay, we have green, we have now left side, we have Democrats, we have Socialists, we have Pirates. Then everything is here represented by Luxembourgish. I mean, look at even the language. Okay, maybe that's the party, but still you need to put them all maybe on English or different languages you need. Because from my perspective, I'm only looking that this is for Luxembourgish people, not for the rest. That's why we don't see here many multicultural, multi-plurality and so on. Yeah, Luxembourg, it is 50-50. But we don't see different people here because this is only based on Luxembourger, not sorry, I don't want to offend anybody. This is nice.
And we really appreciate your very honest appreciation of today's opportunity as well. And it's interesting to hear from you because I think that wasn't the goal to present in this way, right? I think it was the goal really to present it as a very open format. That's also why we do it in English today, and really to involve as many different viewpoints as possible. But it's very interesting to hear from you that you generally have the feeling, you know, that what you will be expecting would be something different. Would you have for example, a concrete idea of something you would like to see that's not yet happening?
Yeah, because now we have, I think, in 1 month we will have election.
Right.
So why didn't you come before? You know, why didn't you come before? Because there were many different, you know, students that they didn't know about you, not about you, but also elections, about the parties that are here, about you guys. Who are you? You know, what do you want to offer? You are students. I agree. You already told us that one. Okay, but more, you know, profound things, more concrete questions. You know, not only accommodation, mobility, and save the nature. Okay, those are the facts. But what do you have to offer, like in detail, or more reports, or I mean, maybe this is not the time to discuss here. Or
This is the time to discuss anything we would like. So really, yeah, we can address any possible question. So yeah, take the opportunity. We are not limited to the topics that we introduced at the beginning.
Okay, I don't want to be just. I want to see many different people.
Can I answer maybe something to?
Yeah, but
yes, go ahead.
Sure,
go ahead.
yeah.
Maybe I. Yeah.
Okay, it seems like
So basically, yeah, maybe this event is 2 months too late because until the 17th of April, everyone living here in Luxembourg had the possibility to register, at least for local elections. I know it's not for national elections. This is not possible, but this was not a choice of the government. This was a choice of Luxembourgish people who were against this in a referendum in 2015. But foreigners can vote in local elections and in European elections. In European elections, only foreigners from European Union. That I agree. But we also did lots of campaigning, the parties, the government, as well as in the local parties in the different communes. They did a lot of campaigning to motivate foreign people to register for local elections. The left and also me in my town, we did canvassing to convince people to go to vote. We in our community, we managed to increase the percentage of foreigners voting from 10 to 26%. This is okay, but 26% out of 100 is still not a lot. And I talked to many people, go vote, register to vote, but many people are not interested. And if people are not interested even in the things concerning their street, their town, then it's very difficult for us to convince them. I also agree that the youth parties, at least for Young Democrats, is a very Luxembourgish thing, but our party and also the others also have like international sections where everything is in English and French. So, but yeah, you cannot have. We don't have no youth sections which are in English, but we do have in our parent parties organizations which are in English and where everybody can engage. And we try to convince people to become member at our parties, also non-Luxembourgers. And we also have candidates which are non-Luxembourgish on every list. But the thing is, if they are not elected, you will not do in Luxembourg City 70% of your candidates foreigners because the population of Luxembourg City is 70%, but you only take 2 or 3 because a very small percentage of the non-Luxembourgers is voting. So that's the problem. The non-Luxembourgers need to start registering to vote. And so then it would also become, our politics would become more international.
I think Mathis was the next one to shortly give a sign.
Yeah, I think a few things that I want to say. It is a very good thing that now foreigners can vote on at least at the local level. I think that also the campaign of the government was also a bit too late. I think if we would started it right at the beginning of a legislature, it would have been a better result. But still, we made a lot of efforts. In my municipality, we are also around 20% that registered. I have 3 non-Luxembourgish candidates on my list, but to the whole process for them to become candidates is very, very difficult with all the papers that they have to present. Everything is, you have to go to the office of the municipality. Nothing is attainable via an application. So that's why we as Pirates are very demanding that everything can be, so everything like the papers, or if you want to renew your ID, everything should be able to do via application. I know that my guichet goes already a certain way, but it's not so user-friendly. So that's one thing that we ask, but also I think one thing is that here your university, you don't have a lot of student lives. I think, let's be honest, outside of here the building, there's not much happening, and I think that's a big problem that your university will face, or already faced for quite some time. I'm very happy to also be here to talk to students of the university, but I think there's a lot still to be done to encourage more students also to stay here after their courses and have more activities that they can participate.
Thank you, Mathis. And I think Tania and Max, you also would like to react.
Yes, I wanted to say also we did a lot of canvassing in the city to try to motivate foreigners to vote. And we do have a few non-Luxembourgish people in the party, especially also in Luxembourg City. But oh yeah, about mobility and housing, that is not all that our programs are made of. That is just the two topics that we chose for tonight to discuss more in detail. But most of our programs have 20, 30 pages for every commune, so it encompasses much more than just housing and mobility. But if we would go in all different directions, it would become too much of a mess. So that's why usually those kinds of discussion rounds focus on 1, 2, or 3 topics. But it was very difficult to get more foreigners interested in local politics. But I think that this discussion round is already more about the programs. So it's about campaigning. So making it now makes sense because the campaign started, I think, 2 weeks ago or something. Before that was more getting people to register to vote, and now the official campaigning for the local elections has started. And I personally think that it's a good thing that we have pretty short campaigning before elections, because I think, for example, what happens in America and how much money goes into campaigning instead of making politics is crazy. So I think having a few weeks of campaigning before elections is good, actually, and you should be interested in politics anyway all year round. And the parties try to publish things on their Facebook pages, on different social media platforms. They do still print out and give their different party papers everywhere in every commune. So the information is there. But a lot of people say themselves that as soon as they get something from a political party in their mail, they just throw it away immediately without even looking at it. So that is also a problem.
Thank you, Tania. Max, you wanted to share a few thoughts as well?
Yes, well, now a lot has been said, I think, regarding to the question of Leonie, but as well as your question, it's a problem of representativeness. I think that we all immediately try to find excuses for why it's not the case as you would like to have it. And I think that that's too easy. I think that the task should be in talking to people who are concerned. I think that's also, again, a little bit the problem of our discussion panel tonight, because we are all Luxembourgers, or I suppose so. Luxembourgers talking about how to integrate foreigners, how to make them part of the democratic process. We talked about how everyone motivated foreigners to vote. I think that we are, 17 or 18% of foreigners registered for the communal election. I think it's okay, but it's not good enough. And I think that the task of the political parties should lie in talking to the people and with the people who try to express their concerns. So just as you told us your opinion, I think that is the role of youth parties and parties in general, to really understand the problematic and not to try to explain everything from their position, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Max. I see Mats also would like to react. Maybe we quickly see if Alder, would you like to give us some feedback as well on what you've heard so far?
Maybe somebody else also wants. Okay,
we will still have time. That's fine.
So regarding the let's say ads and something about the parties, whenever we are maybe looking on YouTube or Facebook, I don't agree that it will be there. It should appear there. But maybe to come at the student delegation, or to talk with the students, or to send us, not only a flyer, because when you are sending us a flyer, it's we're just taking it. Okay, we are seeing a party. We don't want it because we are overburdened with the policies and with the whole politics. We don't want to be in it. Why? Because everything is happening the same. Every time is the same. So you don't have to offer anything new. and the people, they don't want to interact with you. It's easy. You see, when you go to Facebook or some kind of web pages, you have cookies. They are using, different types of interaction, cookies for this one, for that one. So they want from you to see, what do you want? How do you think? And the same we expect from the parties. If you're just pushing, your agenda, okay, we want, this one. I know that at the University of Luxembourg, we have foreigners. Yeah, we have PhDs, of course. I know that master, PhDs, different people. And specifically, they have a problem with accommodation. But you also have to interact with them. How can you resolve it? You need to assure them, not just, talks, okay, let's go. Okay, now it's 2 weeks before, 5 weeks before election. Now we are going there and we will assure them, that they should vote for us. Why? Because we have, yes, accommodation and mobility and so on. That's not the point. Showing money on campaign in America, yeah, that happened in 2018 with Trump and so on. But maybe to come with volunteers or someone else that can speak with the people. Okay, what do you need from us? What do you expect from us? What is our view? Like a foreigner, you live here in Luxembourg, you are participating, you're paying tax if you're working. You want to stay here after you finish your studies or no? We need you. And you need to take those, information from the people. You need to ask them. But if you're just giving them flyers, you're not doing anything. Yes, we have a Facebook webpage and you should go there. So am I interesting for you or are you interesting for me? No. You have, okay, we are voters, okay. It's like I'm in a shopping center and I want to buy something. And yeah, we have there just one image. Yeah, I presented my product. Yeah, but you need to assure me why should I buy that product? Not just, to give me a flyer. Yeah, I know. I can see it with my, but is it good for my skin? Is it nice? Is it reliable? Those are the things that people, yes, you're going, sorry, I don't know your name in the yellow t-shirt. Can I call you like that? Sorry.
Lou, yeah.
You mentioned also you managed to do that from zeros, from scratch to 70%. You managed to do, the people are now voting from foreigners. And the politics here is, if you're just going to the home and just speaking, the people, maybe they're busy. They don't want to speak with you. Why should I speak with you? I can see in France what's happening now. I can see what's happening now in, okay, let's say Ukraine. Also the politics. So you need to interact with the people. Yes, you're foreigner here. Yes, you're living in Luxembourg. You're helping Luxembourg. You're developing Luxembourg. I want to assure you that I will help you. Because if you're just saying, yes, we are Luxembourger here, and then, yes, this is Luxembourg, and we want to integrate others. So what do you think to integrate them? You want to, on a professional level, yes, you want to integrate. I want to learn Luxembourgish language, but you know that University of Luxembourg is not even offering a Luxembourgish language for free. I have to pay. I have to go in LLC. Here, sorry, here in INL, not LLC, and I have to learn. And you're not offering me that one. That's my point of view. Then let's say another thing. Integration of all moralities. Maybe I want to keep my culture. Maybe I don't want your culture. Maybe somebody from Africa will say, okay, it's enough from you Europeans. I came here because I left my country because of miserability that you did. And now you want for me to be integrated in your part. I don't want, I just want to live here. I want to work here. I want to study here, but I don't want to be integrated. So you need to make sure those students, those people, different kind of, to give them opportunity for everybody. This is really nice to have round talk, but this round talk needed to be, let's say, here in February, from January, and to be there every month. So the students, they will, you will attract students. Many people will come here. Many people will, react with different interactions, and then you will collect that feedback, and you will have more presentation. If you had 20 pages of things. Yeah, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, but that's not assurance. I can write easily, go on ChatGPT and please give me 20 notes for my elections. What should I do? And just reading it. that's not any assurance. I mean,
Thank you, Elder, for these very, for sharing your thoughts and these very concrete ideas as well and examples. I'm sure we will get back on a couple of points. I mean, you said that you wouldn't want to be integrated, for example. So I think the question of what it means to be integrated, because at the same time, you said that you would want to study here, you would want to live here, you would want to work here as well. This is already a big part of integration, right? So it would be interesting to hear from you. Yeah. But earlier on, you said that you would wish to have more opportunities to represent your country or to represent your culture. And now you're saying you do not really want to get in touch with the local culture. Is that what you're saying? No.
No, I said that on professional level, we need to be integrated. Because if I don't know, I came here, I don't know Luxembourgish language or French language, I must learn it because that's mandatory. But on a level, that's why I asked him to define which level of integration does he want, which moralities, because everybody has different moralities. If morality is objective or subjective, then we have a problem.
Right, but I mean, learning about the moral codes or the customs or the values that are maybe more considered as more traditional in a certain country, it doesn't mean that you need to adjust your life exactly to these values, but it could be of importance to still learn about them. Or do you see that there can be a danger associated to this?
No, I mean, no. Yes, we have to learn about different, moralities, but sometimes we need to have a lines, boundaries, Maybe why would you learn something about that you're not interested in? You need to offer me something that I'm interested in, not to give me everything that now we have problem. What are the moralities? Which one moralities are best? Maybe somebody else is coming from Africa and he has different moralities. Should I integrate him in Europe because Europe now it's giving democratic rights to everybody here. That was my point only to the foreigners. Why don't we see the foreigners here from different countries? We only see here Europeans maybe, yeah.
I think you have already shared a number of reasons for why we don't see more people here today.
Also, one of the productive thing will be also to offer, let's say, to the people. I have one friend in my class. He's coming from Eritrea, and he wants to study medicine. But because there is medicine, but it is on French and German language. He does not know French, neither German, and there is no offering to study in English, or maybe to do something similar. So if you maybe speak with the students for different problems and you address to them with different, needs, then you will gain more attraction, and you will have more participants here.
Thank you so much for these proposals. Would anybody else like to react to Alder's proposals? Are you echoing what he said? I think the gentleman here in the first row, you have been rather silent so far. Maybe you would like to share something from your experience before we then give the floor to, I think, Mats, who wanted to react. Would you like to shortly react as well? Yeah, I think we have one more volunteer.
So I'm not Luxembourgish, so I'm not sure that I would be able to not answer, but have a proposal about it. But I'm not sure. I mean, from my perspective, because I'm French, I think that everything is quite good for the integration, especially compared to other countries. There are a lot of resources. It's kind of easy to learn a language. There are a lot of foreign students, and I mean, from my point of view, but of course it's probably easier for me, especially because I know French. I mean, I think that Luxembourg is kind of good for integration.
Can you tell us your name as well?
Yeah, Antoine.
Antoine. Thank you, Antoine. So, Alina, I think Mats wanted to react.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'll try. You mentioned a lot of different topics, so I wrote down that you mentioned integration, a bit of certain aspects of racism, diversity, ethnics, opportunity, debate, university, also political frustration, a bit from what I noticed, which I think we all share, to be honest. I think we might be involved in political parties, but I think we all share the same burden, let's say, of frustration that things don't get solved as fast as we might want them to. And like you said, you mentioned a lot of aspects. And it is true that, for example, also the campaign that was led to sensibilize and make people vote, it was quite hard. I think in the city of Luxembourg, for example, there is 70% of inhabitants are foreigners. If I remember correctly, 13% in the end were deregistered to vote. So that's a big part of the population not taken into account. I personally am a candidate in Esch. I'm not sure about the statistics here, but I'm quite sure it's similar, maybe a bit less. So what I wanted to say is, in relation to the political frustration, which I feel like is quite intense for you as well, for me too, to be honest, there are other ways, for example, than parties, because you mentioned, for example, what we can do for you. In my opinion, it also goes both ways. So it is true that we need to go your direction, and you're completely right. We have a lot of efforts to do in terms of integration, integrate people more from different cultures, from different nations, etc. Of course, we also try our best, to be honest, and this is not an excuse, but we also see that people don't necessarily want to participate in party politics. So my proposal would also be that, for example, in Young Greens, but I'm sure in also other in other parties as well, there is something, for example, initiatives of participative democracy. Because now what we're doing here is more representative democracy. So we represent a party, and we might get elected, we might not get elected. And but participative democracy, you have citizens' assembly, whether it's on climate, whether it's on social justice, whether it's on anything. These are initiatives where citizens can contribute directly, and there they are integrated. And it doesn't matter the nationality, it doesn't matter from where they come. It's and these could be solutions, the solutions that you were asking. If you look up, for example, the participative budget in Uni.lu, I don't want to make publicity for the socialists, but this is also an initiative, for example, that we will put in our party program in for the Greens in Esch. The participative budget is basically you allocate a certain sum of the budget, and then people can make initiatives, and then people vote on it, and then they are taken into account, and they are actually immediately done. So by the people, for the people. So there's a lot of new, fresh ideas that kind of come as well. And in my opinion, I also studied this. It is clear that we have a crisis in representative democracy, and participative and deliberative democracy, like we are doing now, is a part of the answer. But of course, we have a long way to go. Yeah, I hope I answered a bit what you were asking for. Yeah.
Thank you. Move on to Jan.
Yep. Yeah, well, also thanks for your extensive representation of your views. I basically agree with what I've heard, that we have some lacks in representation, especially as we only have representative democracy in Luxembourg. But basically, there are no referendums. All decisions are taken by parliament. Even was done without a referendum, but this actually didn't just count for foreigners living here, working here. It counted for all people. And well, what you said about parties are not doing enough to integrate people, you might be right. I'm not going to go into the details, but actually, I think you were describing a bit a one-way street. I think it's always a two-way street, because if you want to participate in decision-making, you are actually, I think you have a certain, let's say, social duty to inform yourself also. And yes, there should be definitely more offerings of Luxembourgish language to learn this. I can agree on that, but maybe some, especially smaller parties, have just difficulties of resources to offer enough translations. But in the end, I would also respond to you directly. If you want something to change, then you also do something about it. I mean, if you have new ideas, especially if you are from a, let's say, foreign culture, you might have other ideas how you can organize politics, which actually don't are not common to people who always lived in Luxembourg. So I would just say encourage you in a positive way. Also go talk to people and say, hey, like I know this and this from, I think you mentioned Russia, or you have ideas that are not so common around here. So just go also talk to people and bring yourself in. Yeah, that would maybe you want to respond to that, but that's basically my idea.
That's all good. Thank you. Any other responses to, yeah.
Yeah, I also just wanted to say, as part of a smaller party, it's also difficult to find the people to go outside, for example. So especially around election time, we try to be out in the street and also talk to people and get their input in what we're doing wrong, for example. But we all have jobs, or some people might still be at university, but most of the people that are, especially that are in the main party, they have jobs. So all of the street work that they can do, all of them going to different schools, universities, or standing in the street on a Saturday, that's all free time. So you have to find the people that do, and they might have families and stuff. So you do have to find the people that do have the time to fill their weekends with doing political party stuff. And for example, the left party, when you talk about citizen participation, the left party does have in their program to do a citizens council in our commune. But in order to know that we have that in our program, you need to read the program. But yeah, so we do try to be outside. And the part that you said about integration and different moralities, I think that in Luxembourg, you don't have to, it's not like you don't have to assimilate to a Luxembourgish culture. There's shops where you can get things from all different cultures, the different associations, because we have so many different nationalities in the country represented. You have different associations, you have Pakistani associations, Iraqi association, Kurdish associations, all different kinds, and they organize events where they play their local music and they serve their local foods, and you have the Fête des Festival des Migrations in at Lux Expo once a year. So you can still keep your own culture. If we're talking about moralities, I mean, it's just, we're in Luxembourg, it's a pretty tolerant society. So if we're talking about equal rights for the LGBTQ community, if we're talking about equal rights for women, that is just non-negotiable. That in those sense, you have to accept the way that we live here. But for the rest, everything that is culture, traditions, all that kind of stuff, you can still freely live out here in Luxembourg. You don't have to assimilate.
Do we maybe have more views on this topic related to, yes? I should, yeah, I'm the one running now. Thank you. Yes.
Well, I would like to react to what you said before, because I think Luxembourg is not perfect, but find a country in Europe where foreigners are as well integrated as in Luxembourg. Here at the University of Luxembourg, or at least in my field in economics, all the masters are taught in English. This is not done to improve English skills of Luxembourg students. I think this is particularly done to make these programs more attractive, and especially for foreign people, foreign students. So, of course, and I think it's the same for those people here in front of you, yes, the Luxembourgish political world is composed of Luxembourgish people. That's true. And I think we can try to make the political world more multicultural. No problem. But as it was said, I think it was you, yeah. When you are basically trying to go to people to convince them, it's free time. So you do it because you're trying to convince them, and you're convinced that you have the right ideas to make the country better, basically. But if those people, if they don't want, what can you do? You cannot force them to come, you cannot force them to register, you cannot force them to vote. So I think, of course, we have to do better. That's true. I completely agree with you on that point. But if foreigners do not want, sorry, what should we do? That's an open question.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us your name as well, please?
Florian.
Florian. Thank you, Florian. Do we have any more reactions to what we've heard on this topic? You know, maybe I see Christian is here with us, or maybe Leonie, you would like to quickly react on one of the points. I see there are two people hiding in the very last row as well, but we can still see you. Maybe you would also like to take the floor at some point. First Leonie, and then I come to you, so I can take a break in between.
I thought maybe it would be a good opportunity to come to the housing topic. So do you see a link between what we've discussed now, the whole, well, Luxembourg being very diverse and so on, but then on the other hand, housing is such a big topic, and I guess it's also because of ownership structures. So like who owns property and why people are able to afford property and so on. And do you have any proposals or any like things you would like to put forward?
Thank you, Leonie, for this question. And thank you for choosing housing. We already heard housing a couple of times now, because initially we wanted to have a vote to see with what topic we would like to start. Maybe we can just take one more question and then we go into our first selected topic.
I wanted as well to ask a question about housing. As the university only has limited availability right now, I think there's a bit less than 1,000 rooms available. Maybe how do you think could this situation be improved, that housing, student accommodation could be more available to students, especially to international students, but as well to Luxembourg students?
Thank you, Max.
So we had a question on housing ownership structures and making student accommodation more accessible. So go for Max first. And then...
Yeah, Mac, maybe I can start with your question. I think that you're entirely right. The problem was neglected for many, many years because it did not affect the Luxembourgish voter. I think that I don't want to speak for all of the voters because that would be ridiculous, but I think that the main part of the Luxembourgish society had an interest in not changing too many things on the housing side. I think that we had a situation where most Luxembourgers, they are owners of their own home. So, and it was more like, yeah, the ones that earned maybe less, but for the rest, it was mostly the foreigners who rented or who didn't even get the chance to enter the market. And I think that now, in the last, we have seen something evaluate. I think that it can't be said that nothing has been done over the last few years. I think we see changes, but I strongly agree with you that it's only because now it's not the foreigner anymore or the one person in Luxembourg who can't vote, but it's now really a problem of the middle class and even the upper class. I think yeah, some of you, I just encountered it when I entered the labor market. I had my master's together with my girlfriend, and it's impossible to enter the free market or the free market. So yeah, I think that this is the main reason why it was neglected, and I think that now, due to the change in voters' opinions, there has been done something over the last years. You asked for problem solving. I think that we don't nowadays with the macroeconomic crisis of the rising interest rates and all of that, we do not only have a housing crisis, but also a construction crisis. And I think now with the housing park owned by the state being relatively low, now would be the time to invest really into affordable housing and keeping it in the state's property. Just to give you an example, the city of Luxembourg, they have money reserves of 1.1 billion, and the whole city has 734. I looked it up just before the debate. 734 affordable housing. So they started with 530 or something, and they increased it by 30 per year. And I think that this is ridiculous, and now should be the time to really start investing and increase the state's housing park.
I think Alex was first, then Matthias. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, the housing question is, I think, a complicated one. I agree that now there's more pressure because more levels in the society are feeling the pressure. But I think the causes that make that we are not having enough supply of housing have not been really addressed. In the last, I would say, in the last 20, 30 years, we have talked a lot about housing and that there would not be enough supply. But then we have done a lot of laws which are actually going against making sure that we have enough supply of housing. And I think they didn't think about it when they did the laws. For instance, they did laws, new zoning laws, which have made everything more complicated and sometimes also more difficult to build denser at certain areas. So you have less housing because of complicated law. You have the environmental laws, which are designed to protect nature, but they have become in procedure so difficult that on a lot of places they are also slowing down the development of housing. Then you have, for instance, we want to protect culture more. So we have a new cultural law, which is good. But then this also slows down the housing supply side. So we have, over the last, I would say, 10, 20 years, have a lot of laws which have noble aims, but in the end, they have a side effect on how fast we can get housing supply on the market. And we don't have enough supply on the market, which leads to this catastrophic rise of prices and not to the availability of housing, especially for us young people. So we need to make sure that we look at what are the causes and how can we push against this so we can get more supply on the market. And for instance, there was a question here about Belval. I checked it also before coming here. There are like, I think, 426 student houses here in Belval, but this is nothing, actually. If you think about it, it's completely ridiculous. You need to have much more student housing here on campus. But why do we not build more housing here? What's the problem? I don't have the answer to that question, but I think we should address it and build more houses. I mean, the state had enough property here to develop enough students' homes, but they decided to build more office space and they decided to build more supermarket space, but they didn't decide to do student housing. So it's not only a thing of property, it's...
I mean, they are selling off public land for the highest bidding investor. So, and you go around, you see all these apartments that are being à vendre. Like, it's not a matter of that there's no supply. There is supply, but it's supply that starts at 1 million. So you see all these empty apartments. I mean, it's just being built. I mean, there's a lot being built. Now there's a construction crisis. They can't get rid of all the waste and whatever. I agree with that, but I think if the same effort would actually go into not only looking at the highest bidding investor, then maybe that would still be an issue, but I think my personal very easy polemic opinion would be that it could be much less severe.
I think the right to property is not the problem. It's a problem how you handle it here at this site. Because the right to property, I'm more in favor of it. I mean, for everyone, it's a good thing that he's able to buy his own house. I think it gives a lot of security to people to be able to have their own home. Not everyone can do it, that's for sure, and not everyone wants to do it, which is also fine. But I think in general, most people are actually pretty happy to be having the opportunity to buy an apartment, a house which suits their needs, which gives them more security, which also provides an investment in their life. So I think for a lot of people, this is actually a pretty good deal. Not for everyone, of course, but if they can have the opportunity, they want to do it. So what the problem here is how this was planned and how it was executed. And this is why we have only 426 student houses today in Belval.
Thank you. Mathis?
Yeah, thank you very much. I agree on a lot of things that Alex said. He, I think, put it right on the spot what the problems are. So now I try to give you a few examples on how we can resolve it. Our party stands for 10 euros per square meter. How will that be done? State has to build more. The state also, because of the last legislature that passed, built now this year 1,300 houses or accommodations less than the year before. So every year we actually need to build around 15,000 we ask to more around 18,000 to 20,000 accommodations should be built by the state and then made at the disposal for everyone for 10 euros per square meter. First for those who cannot afford the other houses, the other prices, and then should, because when the state interferes in this concurrence that is so unfair for everyone, the state can interfere and drop the prices down. First, they could increase, but then afterwards, a long period, we are not talking about something that will be done in one legislature period or after 1 year. This will be a long process. That is one thing. And also, the pirates want to regulate the commissions that the people get who sell their houses. For example, if you sell a house and you would then get 10% of it of its price as a commission, that's too much. That's why we set a limit at 25,700 euros for every. That's the maximum that you can get as a commission. So when you sell a house for 1 million or 2 millions, you only get a commission for 25,000. I think this is regulation that will help, that it's not so interesting to speculate with your houses. We completely understand that when you have a house or an apartment that you want to give it as an inheritance to your children, we completely understand it as you should do. So we start those implementations of more taxes on broad-lying houses or accommodations. We start those taxations at 800 square meters. And I think by really making more restrictive market will help in the long term.
Tania first, and then Lou, and then Jang. And I could see Max shaking his head, so I'll give him the word afterwards. No, as in Tania, Lou, and then Jang, but then afterwards you go.
Yeah, there's a few different problems. First of all, the studies are missing of exactly how much housing in Luxembourg is empty. And that has also been talked about for a long time, but still there's not a lot of data available how much housing is empty. And the communes right now have already the power to put taxes on empty housing, but most communes don't do it. And the same for constructible land that it isn't being constructed on, but most communes aren't doing this. So the one problem is empty housing and constructible land that isn't being used because it's in the family and they cannot build on it right now and they have no hurry, so they just keep it, and it's you can speculate with it, build on it in 20 years or something, and so it's a terrain that isn't being used. And then we have, the problem is not individuals owning their own home, the problem is companies owning hundreds and thousands of apartments or owning entire apartment buildings where they are then able to fix rents and make it so high that it isn't affordable for most people. And then also I know that I remember, I think it's the city of Vancouver, because of also all the foreign investments into the city and buying up housing that wasn't then available for the Canadians that wanted to live there, they just completely prohibited investments coming from outside into their housing market. And we could do similar things, because when we are seeing apartment complexes being built in Luxembourg City where it's over $1 million for a 50 square meter apartment or even less, it's not being bought by most people that live in Luxembourg or work in Luxembourg. So those things could also, you could limit how much can be bought up by foreign investment. And then the government could also, that is more for national elections than local elections, but the government could simply put caps on the price per square meter that an apartment or a house could be sold. It could put a cap on the rent that can be asked per square meter, or how much the rent can increase in 5 or 10 years. But all of these opportunities that we have aren't being used. And in cities, there are other cities, even in capitalist Europe, like the city in Vienna, where much more housing, and it's not only social housing, but it's just public housing. So it's owned by the city, and that way rent can be much more affordable than if it's in private hands. And still now that we're talking forever about the housing crisis, but still now communes are sometimes selling off, like you said, they're selling off public land to private bidders, and this should be completely prohibited, but instead should be used to build public housing for the people that need it, because the waiting lists are enormously long.
Thank you.
Many mistakes have been done in the past, with Belval was already mentioned. We are building the wrong things on the wrong places. So we built too big, we built big apartments. Why? Because the communes want family to live in their commune, because families have children and then they get involved into local community. Students don't get involved into local community. Singles don't get involved in the local community. So most of the communes don't want them. But this mindset has to stop. And we also need to build more small flats in order to make it more attractive for students, and or to make it possible for students and also single households to live in the communes which are around here. And this was the first thing. Then the second, Tania said lots of things which we can do. I agree with some of them. It's difficult or impossible for Luxembourg to prohibit foreign investments, as we are part of the European Union. Of course, we can prohibit investments coming from the US or from Arab countries or from the Far East, but we cannot prohibit investments coming from Germany, Italy, or France, for example. So this measure would have rather small effect. Communes which are selling public land, they indeed did it a lot in the past, but it's now very few communes which are doing this. And what, for example, City of Luxembourg did with the Hamius is that they did the biomphytéotique, so they kept the land and they just rent it for a long period. So they will get it back after 75 years and can build a new thing on it. And this is the way how communes have to do it in order that we don't lose public land. Also a mistake which was done, we allowed people who got social housing or affordable housing to sell it again after 10 years on the free market. Now this is not possible anymore. People who get social housing and who want to sell it after a certain period of time need to offer it to the commune or to the government first, before and then they can buy it back. So it's not they are not lost. But we need to come to a Vienna because, like Tania said, Vienna is a very good example with what they did in terms of social housing. But therefore, we need to start. Now is a good time to do this, as the housing market is down. No private people are investing anymore, and that's why the Young Democrats, but also some of our colleagues here, want that the government invests a lot of money in order to buy projects and to build these projects and to keep them afterwards and to hire them to affordable prices.
I think it's done now, and then we proceed to the audience for more questions.
Yes, I would basically divide my answer in two topics: housing problems of students and housing problems for for working young people in general. Actually, if one gives an honest answer, there is one inconvenient truth: Luxembourg has a very high attractive labor market and also living market, so there's a naturally high demand, but unfortunately it's a small country. So unfortunately, there's again a natural limit on supply, because at least if you just take all the available land in Luxembourg itself, it is limited by nature, not by bad will or speculators. So first of all, for students, this creates a very difficult situation, because that's just how it works. As a student, you have limits on how much you are able to gain. Just because you need to focus on your studies, you gain less. So, but you need to pay somehow for a living. So actually it puts yourself in a bad situation. And like it has been said, some huge mistakes have been done in the past. I mean, if you just say you construct a totally new university without addressing the question of living and time, well, it's not going to end well. And I think it didn't end well for many students. So whatever solution you apply, it will take some time to work. So what could be done in general to, let's say, ease the situation, not solve it, but ease it? I think we have very complicated legislature when it comes on renting. For example, it's very difficult to get renting contract which is clearly limited in time, which actually is often a demand from students. If you know you're going to spend 3 years in a city, you're actually happy to be able to change your living place after the end of your studies easily. But it's quite difficult here in Luxembourg actually to offer such contracts. Many people have actually empty houses or spaces, but they are afraid to put them on the renting market because they are just afraid they can't resolve the contract when they need it for themselves. So basically deregulate, that's at least our approach, is don't put more pressure on people, but actually offer more flexible solutions for both parts. It's a similar topic, I would say, with construction, because legislation on how you have to build has often changed during the last years, which you now can still build, which one needs to be replaced. So if you don't have a long time planning security, that's of course not encouraging you to build on your empty space. And well, then I said that the offer is naturally limited, but here I would say we come definitely to the representative question. Why can't we have more corporations in the Granda region? I mean, there's universities not too far away. We often cooperate, for example, on railway structure with our neighboring also local governments of our neighboring countries. Why not to share more students home, for example, in a grant program? People are actually flexible to move. But actually this is something which has not been on the agenda very much, because you see now I come to working young people in general who also have very much difficulties to still be able to afford some kind of living, especially if they want to get owners. And if they want to do so, they often move abroad actually. But then again, even if you are used to live with your parents in Luxembourg, with your families, you might work here, you immediately lose some rights. For example, you can't participate in elections anymore, so you have kind of a representative gap there. Actually, ADR proposed to change this, at least for national elections, that Luxembourgers living abroad can participate. We'll see how that ends, but basically it also counts other people living abroad. Yes, actually often lose administrative connection. You can't, for example, register at a friend's place. So basically, I would say make it easier to move to the Grand region around Luxembourg, but keeping your ties here. So that would be one way of making the offer larger.
Thank you. Max, do you have to go or?
Yes, I will be fast.
Matt, sorry, I think it's Max who needs to leave us. Is it very urgent? Would you like to say a few words of goodbye? What's the situation? Okay, fine.
Okay, so I'll keep myself very short. So for the Young Greens, I think what's important is, first of all, to invest, of course, a lot. So, of course, we wanted to plan to invest, I think, around 1.5 billion euros, which corresponds to around 2% of the GDP of Luxembourg. And with that money, there is in the PAGs, so the Aménagement du Territoire, the plans, you say it in English, the plans, how you create territories, the territorial plannings. There is 3,000 hectares that are available, or that are both for housing, etc. And this corresponds to more or less 300,000 houses or living spaces. And so with this, if the government subsidizes, invests, there would be a lot of living spaces available, and that would be good. The second point would be more, as we already mentioned, the taxing of empty spaces. So both the lands that could be developed but are not developed, and secondly, the empty houses that are just not being used. And in this case, we do appreciate our Minister of Housing from the Green Party as well, his efforts to increase that tax. And he is the first to actually propose legislation this in a long time. So we do appreciate this. One thing we would criticize is that it's too little too late, and that we need it to be higher. And yes. And a third solution, which is more interim solutions that we didn't talk about yet, is the tiny houses and Wohngemeinschaften, so the co-living spaces, which if you facilitate the plannings for it, could also contribute to an easier, especially for students as well, accessibility to housing. Yes.
Thank you so much, Max, for.
Thank you,
giving us
Max,
your
for your
time, talking.
participation.
Bye.
Yeah,
Okay.
Max has a commitment tonight, which was announced beforehand. So it's not a spontaneous leaving, just to make that very clear. So, so Aline, I think time is almost up, and it's time for us to get to our roundup session, I guess.
Sure, unless there's maybe a question on mobility still, since we haven't really discussed it.
Maybe there are, there is a question which you would like us to address in our roundup session. Maybe you can give us some suggestions. This is the very final chance for today, I guess. Thank you. Elder.
There was a petition about mobility. I would like just to ask, because many students signed for better facilities to come here at Belval campus. So do you have some kind of information, and do you promise something that you will legislate?
Thank you, Elder. Are we aware of this petition? Do we know which one is meant? Is it a petition that was started here at university? Maybe you can tell us if you know who launched this initiative.
I just got an email from different students, so I don't know. Are you aware about that one? Petition about to facilitate transport to the mobility. I mean, here to the campus, Belval, for students. No, you don't know that.
Okay, but it's good to know.
I mean, if they're unable
Thank you.
to petition, they can just discuss the transport system, like if that's leading to Belval, maybe what they're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe one more question, very last chance for
Just
today,
one
before we get
question.
to
What is the petition asking in terms of transport? From Ash, from Luxembourg City, from everywhere, from Luxembourg City.
very last chance. One more question we should consider for our final round. And the countdown is up. Okay. Alina, who goes first?
I believe Mats was first. No? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's adequate that I would quickly respond since green mobility is quite a green theme. And yes, as the Greens, we also had a lot of emphasis on the mobility, especially soft mobility, public transport, and the use of cars, biking, etc., etc. So one project, for example, that you can read in the National Mobility 2035 is that there will be a direct tram 2030 from Luxembourg City to Belval and Esch with a cycling piste as well. So there are lots of initiatives at the moment that will create this infrastructure. So as I said, there will be the cycling piste, the tram network straight from Luxembourg City to Belval. It will be 2030. It might seem like a long time, but these projects also take time. But we also are encouraging, especially for biking, soft mobility, and going against the use of cars.
Thank you. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak? Come on, surely. Okay. Lou. And then Tanya.
I wanted to ask basically what is the main problem. I got that now you want a better transport from Luxembourg City to Belval, but there is already train, and like Matt said, there will be a tram. I am aware that until the tram is here, it will be 2035, and this is not a date I'm saying, that's what the government is saying. So it will take some time, but there are also lots of direct buses which already exist. We know that the highway from Esch to Luxembourg City is far too small, and there are far too many cars. And if there are too many cars, also the bus can't get through during rush hour. But what is your idea?
Okay, so this petition was for improved transport to the university in Belval through the introduction of dedicated bus routes, because many students that they're coming from Luxembourg City, sometimes we have lines, maybe cancellation of a transport. And if we are coming with a bus, we know that now they are building A3, so it's a problem in the morning. And that will be maybe also for students that they're coming from, okay, now we have 306 for the students that they're coming from Trier, from Germany. But let's say for students that they're coming around from France, for example, they have problems they need to pay and so on. Maybe if, yeah, we cannot do something around the Paris, but maybe from, let's say, Nancy, or that's different. Yeah, this petition was about introduction of dedicated bus routes. Yeah, and it was already the past.
But again, it's related to housing. As if people could live closer to here, it would not matter if they had good bus transportation. But I see the point. But so it's good that you did the petition.
Tanya?
Yeah, some of this is more on the national level than really for communal elections. But we, in the Left Party, we did have meetings with people around the French border with different unions and stuff, because the problem is that as soon as you come to the Luxembourgish border, even though it's part of our responsibility, because those people are coming from France for multiple reasons, maybe they can't afford housing in Luxembourg, and maybe one of the partners works in France or whatever. So, but we stop funding projects at the Luxembourgish border. But in France, there's a big problem with the highway coming from France because of all the people coming to work in Luxembourg, and we're not helping funding these streets at all. And the same with if they have train projects, if they have bus routes and stuff, we stop funding at the border. And so that is also one part of the program of the left party is the funding over the border as well. And together with France, or even together with Germany and Belgium, finding solutions to get people here. And I agree that there's far too many train cancellations and train delays, sometimes for an hour, or just 1 or 2 trains that don't come at all. So if you really want to people to switch to public transport and not use their cars, public transport has to be reliable. And far too often it's not reliable. And so there's some big problems, and for the local elections now, at least for the commune of Zesumme, it's not really the coming from the city now, but for the commune of Zesumme, one of the points was to get the bus schedule of TIS adapted to the train schedule in Bacharach, because right now they are not. So far too often people they take a bus to get to Bacharach, and then in Bacharach they have to wait for quite a while again to get the train to the city. So one of our points was to get a better adaptation between bus routes and train routes. For this specific problem of coming from the city to Belval, we also have in our program that the tram should already come earlier, that the works should start earlier. But I think for right now, it's pretty difficult, because if you have buses, they're going to be stuck in traffic again as well.
Thank you. Matis, you have 30 seconds to make your final point. So I'm counting.
Yes, okay. So I'm not sharing Tanya's views on everything, because I think that we are funding a lot. We have on work days at 5 or 6 o'clock, you have 4 buses that go to France. You have buses to Thionville, you have buses to Metz, you have buses to Saarbrücken, Trier, you have trains to those places. So I think that we are well aware about those problems, but it cannot be only Luxembourg that will pay for the Grand region. So another thing that I want to say is here, the parking spaces. There are not enough parking spaces. They should have been built underground, and now you have the problem that all the electric cars cannot charge here. There is no charging stations here at the university on the parking. That is a big problem, and that has to be changed, because mobility will also change from fuel cars to electric cars.
Thank you very much. Do we have time still?
I personally have a lot of time. Yes, I think it depends on our candidates as well. I thought this was already our roundup session. Now I'm not very sure about it anymore.
No, we are.
So,
it's
yeah?
just it's 7 o'clock. But like, if we have time, then we have time.
Yeah, of course, we still have time to
Then-
finish the session. Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
then another 30-second response. Thank you.
I wanted to, I think it's a very difficult situation, because nothing that can be done quickly that will resolve this, I think, to satisfaction. We get more buses, they will also be stuck in traffic. Getting more trains on the rail is also not that easy, because we still haven't finished that connection in Betonburg, Luxembourg, so we cannot pass more trains, and it's only finished in 2027. And this comes back to the point I was saying before. It needs too much time in Luxembourg to build new infrastructure. For this little connection of 7 kilometers, we are 11 years for 7 kilometers of rail, and that doesn't include the planning. So it's just a catastrophe in terms of how fast we can deliver and plan infrastructure. What we should do here in Belval, I think, is definitely what Lou proposed. We need more housing here, because I think that's the only feasible solution for most students, Luxembourgish and international students, to live here. It would make the campus much more lively, much more fun to be here. And also it would alleviate all these transport problems. So.
Thank you so much. Matt? Okay.
Yeah, I'll also be short. Just in reaction to the fact that it takes a long time, that's true. I also agree it should be faster, and I also agree with the park and rides. That could be an interesting solution as well. However, I would also say that the government did not inherit an easy situation. In fact, nothing was done before. So when we talk about speed, it's also because before 10 years, nothing was done. So now we're inheriting the pieces and we're trying to patch them together. And in my opinion, for example, if you read the National Mobility Plan 2035, it's a quite extensive plan and does propose a lot of solutions.
Yeah, well, I think most of it has been said. There has been some bad planning in the past. Basically, Belval should be well connected to Luxembourg City by a train every 15 minutes. But most of the time, if you try it out, it is actually late or not going at all. So on the other hand, yes, it was also said the highway is too small, but that is also something which should have been addressed a long time ago, that we need would need a third lane for the two biggest capitals, but you're not going to correct the mistakes of more than 10 years in a few months. I think it has all been said. I have to agree with the colleagues here.
Thank you. I think now it's time for the very final question. If there's anything else left to discuss, now is the time. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Then we've reached a conclusion. Thank you so much. Unless, Philip, you have something else to say? Okay, good.
All fine by me.
Okay. Well, then, thank you so much for joining us. This was, I think, a very productive round still. I mean, we still managed to get through a lot of questions. We had a lot of discussions, and I'll give the final word to Mike. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much also to Philip and Alina, of course. Thank you very much. A tiny applause, please, for their job they are doing to manage also the microphones and the wordings and the words. So, and very much thank you also to the people from the youth parties and Max who left us, not in protest, but because they have another appointment. Thank you very much. And also for the interventions. As you can see, stay a bit frustrated. That's also important. And also sometimes you see, we know the problems, but the solutions apparently are not advancing as we want and like it to do. But that's the idea also. They are also part of the future of the politics and the policy makers of the country. So we hope that this mindset and this kind of awareness will also play a role when they are taking part in the next and future elections, and perhaps in the important roles where policy is being done. But stay engaged and motivated on the local, even in the university level. Be motivated, be engaged, and join or talk to the student delegation. They are here for that also. And yeah, stay interested. And you did your part today. You were here. You have been participating. You have many degrees of participating. So thank you for being here and for joining in the discussion. We will continue doing this stuff. So we will be also hopefully back for the national elections. I hope to see you all back for those perhaps those events, multiple events, we don't know. Until then, stay motivated, stay informed, and of course, Jonk.lu in 5 languages. You can find the website, and yeah, be interested, and stay young at heart like I do, and motivated. Thank you. Have a nice evening.